commentary today?
Everybody does.
Mike is coming. He's been sick.
Okay.
He says it might be a couple months. Well, yeah, I don't know.
You want to put him on your side?
Sure.
But that she asked.
Yeah.
This privatization of the Medicare and that, it's costing us a lot.
Why is that?
Sandy, you want to start in on it?
Well, they're not paying for services for people that they should be paying for. They're denying claims. And if they do pay, it takes forever them to pay the claims. Right, Julie? Yes.
And the only way the service will continue is if the county pays for it.
And then they're appealing it, and it takes forever. And then they approve it, and the next time they do the authorization, they appeal it again. It's just an ongoing cycle of holding back their payments.
Or they approve it, and then they say, oh no, never mind, we changed our mind. And then we give them the documentation they want, and then they say, oh no. So yeah, it's ongoing.
So it's a payment problem.
It is costing us.
It's who decides. It's
hours and hours and hours of time.
they're not they decide instead of the doctors decide. They're deciding instead of the doctors deciding. What's down?
Oh, yeah. Started off please. Excuse me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda as presented.
I'll second it. Gary, second by Bill to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Secondary roads.
Morning.
Thank you.
Just our proposal for same thing again. It's been 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Can you give a reason for 6%?
Yeah, I can. I'd like to. I think we just want to talk about that in closed session there. Just a little bit of what we've seen in the past couple of years on what everyone else has got. So.
I'm not sure we can do that in closed session.
Yeah, that's the way, it's the way this works. So this week they give us
Yeah.
their proposal, next week, yeah.
Start high, you guys go low, and try to meet in the middle, I guess. So.
Okay. Yeah. We'll be sparring.
Yep. I don't know if we can get on the agenda for
The agenda next week, just make sure that there's nothing at 9 next week. And
We'll set up a time because we don't want to waste your time.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yep. You're doing a good job out there. Yep.
Thank you.
can we go, like, do you want to do 9:30 next week?
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Okay.
Great.
See you
Perfect.
then.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. Aaron.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, so after the last meeting, Julie and I met, and we went through a little of everything for the last few months. Yep. So since July, we looked at the average service provision utilization and kind of figured out totals there. Then multiplied. I have a whole spreadsheet if you really want to see the details. But then multiplied all of the information out to try to figure out if there's a profit gain or a profit loss on those types of things. Whether it be public insurance or public assistance, private pay, you can see that that's on there as well. and then came up with the dollar amounts that they're going to need to be able to just get by for the rest of the fiscal year. So you'll see, like, under public insurance, we actually they actually lose about $8,000. That's because our skilled on public insurance, which would include Medicare, Medicaid, and VA, they're reimbursing us less than what it costs for them to provide the service. And those cost reports are actually in the rears, so they're not necessarily even the most up-to-date dollar amounts either. So that's kind of where that money is going. Public assistance, that included Elder Bridge, the state grant dollars, and CSS on Sandy's side. Private insurance was Blue Cross. They take some United Health, no, Humana.
Yep.
And then Mercy was where I kind of lumped that. And then private pay are the full fee people who pay straight out. So they're really not falling under any insurance or assistance option. They're paying full fee for that. Again, though, their cost is $134.20 for a skilled nursing visit, and they're charging $125. So they're even $9+ out that the county would have to supplement to be able to have that work. So they're making about $30.28 by having their charge be the same or less than what their cost is overall with those individuals. So I subtotaled through October because you still had state grant dollars. Those state grant dollars come from state tax dollars, and those dollars pay for the skilled nursing, personal care, and homemaker services that are provided on the taxpayer side for state dollars. Before that, you were losing, or they're losing about, I don't want to say losing, but it costs them the additional $8,751.88 on average if you look at that utilization. The next line, though, is the state grant costs. So they have, was $37,000? Yeah. Or so that they get through the grant that I manage, and that those dollars are gone now. So that on average is about $9,105 a month. So adding the two together, anticipating what they're going to need November through June, it's about $17,000, well, about down to the penny, I guess, $17,856.88. So I multiplied that by the 8 months from November until the end of June, which comes to $142,855. That doesn't include any public health stuff. That's all just home care. So just thinking about, somebody find wood and knock on it for me that you don't have a communicable disease outbreak like pertussis or TB or something else that they have to do. Any health education opportunities that they would want to do, kind of that preventative side that I talked about last time. So at a minimum, it's going to be about $175,000. I think that they'll need to be able to get through to June. And like I said, I have all of that detailed in like everything else, if you in color coded and everything, if you want copies of it as well.
My thoughts on it is that we need to cover this year, fiscal year. It's going to be tough, but we're going to do it. And then we're going to have, like we've been talking, have to have a really tough discussion, this winter, what we want to do as a county, and that's my opinion. And we have to really talk with you guys. This MCO crap is, it's really a stain on the legacy of the ex-governor, I should say.
So when she talked about the $175,000 that they're going to need from the county, that doesn't include the $317,000 that we're already subsidizing for the FICA, and insurance.
Yeah.
So total, it's about $500,000 that they need to be subsidized because of the MCOs this year.
Yeah. That's killed us. It really has. Would you like to address that, or?
Well, yeah, sometime. I gotta have more details.
Yeah.
Could you share with us and maybe give the...
Yeah, if you'd like.
And
I don't know who you are.
Representative Ted Gaskell.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Erin Barkema with the
What's your name?
Iowa Department of Public Health. Erin Barkema. So I know I'm handing papers out to people. Okay. So I'll know who's in the room.
Evidently, the governor can just wave their wand on it, dude. Because you guys didn't write any legislation for this MCL stuff, did you? Or
No.
had nothing to do with you guys, did it?
No, it didn't.
But you can address it.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
And we have.
How has it been addressed so far?
Well, these payments that I don't know who mentioned that. Was it
Probably,
Probably,
yeah.
both of you? Okay. You know, we wrote some change to that, and that they're supposed to be paid within 60 days. Are they being paid within 60 days?
We got what, 120, some odd 120?
I think they're being addressed within 60 days, but they might not necessarily be paid. So somebody's touching them, but I think some of the issue is they submit a bill that it has been submitted in the past the same way, and the processor says, no, you're using the wrong codes. So they touch it within 60 days, but they're not necessarily paying them. So then they send the information back to the agency, and the clock starts again. So I think that's some of the issue.
In the meantime, they don't pay retroactively either. If you're trying to get somebody qualified for Medicaid, somebody has to cover those expenses up until that time. Because you'd think once they qualified, they would qualify back here too. But from what I understand, they do not go back.
Sometimes they will. Sometimes and it's a month or two, but no further, I think is typically how that works.
If they push it out 120 days, somebody has to eat that.
Right.
but it's not only public health, it's your mental health providers for therapy, it's everyone, it's everyone. It's the hospital, Mason City Clinic, all of them.
The other thing here, so they're sent a bill and they appeal that, and so you write an explanation and then they appeal again, stuff like that. Is that, did I hear that right?
Yeah, just depending on what the situation
All they gotta do
is.
is just make one little clerical error, a hangnail on it, and they throw the whole thing out, and I think legally. Is that the whole thing is set up, in my mind, is to get people to give up to get their money. Because these NCOs are private companies that are looking to make a profit. And in theory, they're non-profits, but they're paying their employees pretty good. I mean, they were taking employees away from CSS. They're going to do it cheaper, and they were taking employees away from CSS, paying them more. They're paying the same employees more to do the same job. So I don't know how it's... The whole thing just, to me, it just seemed, I just can't understand why we did it. I really can't.
Well, I know why we did it.
Well, I do too.
You know, I went down there.
Why did we do it?
You know, and I'm not going to remember these numbers exactly, okay? But I can remember going down and, well, we got to put another $50 million into Medicaid. And then I went back another year, hey, we got to put in another $100 million. So the first thing we did is take the budget that we had to work with and subtract $100 million, $50 million, and that happened more than once, okay? And so it was just every year we were eating into something else because we weren't anticipating the total cost of Medicaid. So that's why you have to ask Governor Branstad, okay, why he actually did it, because we never really had a chance to talk to him about it.
We ran away to China right after this.
Right. So that was kind of hard to follow. But at any rate, that's my thinking why he did it. We were just, you go down there and you put money into Medicaid and education, and you could just well go home.
Well, our Iowa's so stupid that we can't. I mean, there's reforms that need to be done, but why do we need to hire all that money? The profits from it all now are going out of state. It used to be that money all stayed in state. You know, even if we were running it poorly, at least the employees were still in the state of Iowa. And now the profits of this are shipped out of state and every last one of them MCOs have been convicted of Medicaid fraud in other states.
But do you realize 40 other states have the similar Medicaid program that we now have? I'm not saying exactly the same, but 40 other states.
And
that's the last number that I saw.
States were thinking about going away from it. I know Kansas was one of the models for it, and they're thinking about getting what they're trying to get away from it.
But I don't think they have, not that I know of.
Not that I've heard of yet, but you know, I hate being a lemming. If everyone else can run off the cliff, why should we? You know, I mean, I really, because the state budget will save money, but it's going to get passed down because then we're gonna have to campaign on the fact that we're gonna have to raise taxes to keep the services the same.
The concept, as I see it, is that with the MCOs, and I can remember going back to this back in the 80s, maybe even the 90s, with regular health insurance, where some people would join into an MCO, it would cost them less money. The whole purpose of that, too, you got to talk to Governor Branstad, okay, but to me, as I looked at the whole thing, there's a possibility, at least, of getting those people that are living unhealthy lifestyles to live healthy lifestyles. You're not going to do that with a government program. There's no skin in the game. The people that are doing those things are not going to ask those people, hey, you're on drugs, you got to get off drugs. You're smoking, you got to quit doing that. You're consuming too much alcohol, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of other problems, okay?
I'll agree with you on that.
Just where we're starting.
Well,
and I've asked
you get people to do that in-house by.
I've asked hospital administrators and nursing home administrators and others about what I just said, and they agree with me, okay? So the MCOs are a good idea in that way. Now, maybe there's enough reasons not to do it for some of the things that you're talking about. But government is not going to hold somebody accountable for what they're doing. It's just not going to happen.
My mind is that that's what needs to be done. Is report needs to be done to government. We can do this ourselves.
But it hasn't been done. So where are we going to go? It just you can't.
I'm on your side on that one. The boards I'm on, like the NICAO, and there is no incentive for these caseworkers to crack down.
Well, no, and that's where it has to come from the top down.
Yeah, yes.
We have to reform the whole system, and that includes, if you have to, you've got to get rid of employees who won't do their job, that want to get, we need to eliminate.
Bingo.
Yes, and you know, that's.
Well, that's the discussion that we're going to have.
Hey, I will go back here with this business of paying timely and this appeal upon appeal upon appeal. Okay, that'll definitely go back with, and then what you say, the wrong codes?
Yeah, but if they put in the wrong, like, diagnostic codes or other things, then that's another reason why it gets kicked back. So that, like Bill said, like, the hangnail is one processor. There's not a lot of standardization with the processors, I think.
And there's not a lot of communication.
Right.
Why can't
And
that?
you don't talk to the same person. And
You know,
the communication is
if you're not in the business, you know, my wife has caught many of her clients being coded wrong and being charged excessively for things that shouldn't be charged to them. And so that's also I guess that's a dichotomy of the system, you know.
Shouldn't take weeks to correct a wrong.
But why can't those codes be standardized? And
exactly.
this is for whatever, you know, and
Exactly.
one is for this. Well, I better not. Anyway,
Right.
you understand what I'm trying? Why can't that be done?
They are, but it's up to it's subjective.
And part of what happened when we went to 3 MCOs, before it was just IME, right? And so they would just submit to IME, and IME had all the same. Well, every MCO has different ways.
Yep.
They all have different processes. They all have different procedures. So they all now have to know 3 ways in which to do it, and 3 different codes. And, you know, this processor, if they're America, or if they're one of the America group, it has to be this. If it's the other, it has to be that. So it is it's just more complex than what it's been in the
I
past.
think that if these people want to work for the state of Iowa, they should all be able to play by the same rules.
So we can force them to standardize. Or are you saying it's just not possible?
I don't know if you could write that into your contract with them. I think they'll
They
say,
might run
this
away
is
from
our package, this is what we offer.
Because every health provider,
Yeah.
every health provider, they're going to maximize their profits too, and so they're going to code it to their benefit. And that's the trouble. That is the big thing that my wife's come up against.
Writing health insurance.
Not writing it. No, is the health providers, like, I don't want to say any names, but any hospital, any clinic, they're going to code it to their benefit. Okay? And it might not be what It should be coded ed, but it's to their benefit.
Well, another thing that I'm going to do here, if this helps any, I'm going to talk. Scott Curtis is the hospital administrator in Cassuth County. I'm going to talk to him, and also they're working on getting a new one in Estraville. I'm going to talk to those people too. I've already talked to them, but they're gone now. The ones that were doing it, and so it isn't going to make a lot of difference there. And so I want to get their input into this also, and I promise to stop and see him someday. And what was the other thing here? The mental health. Did you mention that?
I did. I did. I'm just looking at a lot of the private providers out there, like Turning Leaf over in Mason City, that serves a lot of people in the area. Prairie Ridge, serves a lot of people. They're having a very difficult time in getting their money. Mason City Clinic with the psychiatry over there.
So why are they having a hard time?
I don't know. You need to ask them, but this is what they're telling me. Turning Leaf in Mason City says the MCOs owes them hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know. I think it's maybe a delay game.
It's a mess.
It's a big mess.
Also with the MCOs, when you do a pre-authorization and you get that first initial and they said, yes, we'll pay for it. And then when you send in, when they ask for documentation and that doctor says, yes, they need to have that physical therapy because they have, let's say, an unstable gait, and you send that documentation for that in-home physical therapy, and they'll say, oh, no, sorry, we've decided we're not paying that.
So they have another set of physicians that are utilization review physicians, and they decide whether or not.
And when is it their decision? When it's that person's primary doctor who says, no, they need that physical therapy. That's what we're fighting.
So outside of the reform piece that you have, it's maybe more of his control than it is your control and reforming it overall. But when you're thinking, and we'll have this conversation when we talk to others about the level of funding, the healthy behaviors versus the unhealthy behaviors, we have a system in place to encourage people for healthy behaviors. It's public health. We typically don't, it tends to be kind of the hidden service, right? You don't know that there's a public health department out there until we heard all the deaths last year from flu, and then everybody said, go get your vaccine. So if we can, and we talked about this last time, if we can invest a little more in prevention in the front, that will help with delay and chronic disease on the backside. So that's, I guess, within your control as we start to have those discussions, thinking about 20. And that's in every county, across Iowa. So we just...
Isn't there some issues with outcome-based? If a person's not getting better, you kind of get knocked down because you're not...
If they have to go back in the
They could be 98 years old, and it's the likelihood of them...
That's that value-based that program
which is, in my mind, unrealistic.
Medicare.
The older you get,
it
doesn't get better.
And that's a federal... That's outside of our control. That's a federal thing. So if you get readmitted to the hospital or back in an ER after you've been discharged, that's a hospital ding that the hospitals get, but that's a Medicare thing. As is value-based purchasing, that's a federal thing as well.
That's creating longer stays in the hospital now.
Because they don't want to have that,
So Medicare has the outcomes-based process. Medicaid does not.
Medicaid may, as a part of the MCO contract, like when they get to redo their contracts. So the state has contracts with each MCO in general, and then each MCO contracts with each individual entity. And so they may build in an outcomes-based type of thing, and that is based on their reimbursement. It just depends on the MCO. They have that option. I don't know if they've ever been given the data to tell them what they're looking for, if that were the case. They've never said, we're going to be looking at the following, and that will be based on. They've just mentioned, like in the past, when they first came about, that they could go to more outcomes-based healthcare.
And I think it should be, but I also agree, you get to be sold and things don't work as good.
Things reoccur. There's nothing you do about it.
Okay, I hear you.
It reoccurs in some of our memories.
So on this 175,000,
look at the budget and see if there's a place to take that from.
It is, I don't know if they're gonna get it out. Anyway. That, it's gonna be tough. You know, it is.
There are things on the public health side that we can look at. I mean, we can look at raising the charge for those private pays so that we do have that. But again, you know, we're bringing it.
And charge the rest of them because they won't pay it.
No, exactly. We can look at for those private pay because really the only thing we have control over is kind of your state grant and your private pay. We can look at the sliding fee schedule and see at what level people start to pay and how much they pay to kind of help supplement their care.
We just did that, didn't we?
You did, but in
July.
in some of those other times, we may have to, you know, we may have to pinch just a little bit more to help out on that side of things. But the burden then goes back on to those who may not be able to pay for it in the first place. I know you've got a couple of people who, you know, that are hard to get that reimbursement from. So then it just comes back to, like we've said, at what level do county taxpayers want to help care for the people within the county? Do you want my detailed spreadsheet, or are you good with what you have in front of you?
Well,
I'd like to see the detailed one, please.
Okay, yeah, I made you copies. So the green is Medicare. Medicare, if you've heard Julie talk about it before, is different. They pay you within a 60-day bundle. So they bundle all those services together, and then they pay you anywhere from $1,200 to $3,500. Who else needs a copy? So I only have.
I've already seen this. So.
There you go. You have seen it?
Yeah.
Okay. So here you go. So with Medicare, when they bundle, then they pay anywhere from $1,200 to $3,500, depending on the level of severity of the client. So what I actually did in talking with Julie is I went and found kind of a median, middle ground-ish to try to figure out what that reimbursement would be. And then, again, multiplied it by between our costs, our average visits, and everything else by the month to figure out what that revenue or lack thereof column indicated.
And that goes off of when the nurse goes out and assess the person, because they go off of the OASIS. Now that OASIS is going to change again come January.
So that's just how that was my
Because it goes
crazy
off of
chicken
their
scratches
diagnosis
math that got you kind of
and what they're what we're seeing them for. If they have a wound, if they have you know, if they've had a heart attack, if you know they're diabetic.
Is VA paying better than Medicare, Medicaid, or is it?
they'll pay, except for right now they're behind because of their change from one system to the next.
Yep. Is that just a computer?
Yep, that's a
Those
computer.
are temporary.
But otherwise, they're pretty.
Yep, they pay 100.
Yeah.
So on the sheet itself, you'll see that the VA actually has a positive in, not that one,
Okay.
the color-coded one, sorry.
Okay.
They actually end up with a positive on when I plugged everything in. So you actually make about $1,600 a month off of VA, where everybody else is, with the exception of private pay.
Because they're paying the rates.
Yes.
Yes.
Another thing I can't understand is how they can pay you less than what you can hire people to do the services. You know, so then we go backwards on every transaction in a sense because they pay less than what it costs to hire people to do the job. You know, I mean, it's just a snowball going the wrong way.
May I ask one more question? What's your handle here? You know, I'm just trying to get where it sounds like you're a good resource, that if I need to know something about what all is happening here with the MCOs and so on, that you would be a good contact.
Yeah.
Yep, I'd be happy to.
So are you the head of the Winnebago County Public Health Department?
No, I'm a regional community health consultant, so I cover 17 counties, north central, northeast Iowa, and I'm a liaison between the Department of Public Health and the Board of Health. And then as they need me at Board of Supervisor meetings, then when Mike says, hey, come on over.
So you could end up at 17 different Board of Supervisor meetings.
I could, yes.
As a Department of Health employee.
Yeah.
I know Sandy, you're a little bit, but
Yeah.
what's your name if I can ask?
I'm Julie Sorensen, I'm Department of Public Health Administrator.
So are you tied strictly to Winnebago County or other?
Yes,
So say that again.
I'm the Winnebago County Administrator for Public Health.
Do you work down here in this?
Yes.
Yeah, you can give me a flu shot?
I can't, but my nurses can.
All right, that helps.
Let's take a little recess here. Let's go to number 9:30. I don't think it should take too long. Tuck pointing and stone repair.
I've got something for you guys. Dave Randall stopped in the other day and asked if he was getting jobs lined up for next season. And was wondering what your thoughts were as far as finishing up the north and the west sides. A couple things to put in your brain for the mix. There is still some leaking. We had those heavy rains with that northeast wind. It's leaking really up there at the top, coming in and coming down the inside. So there's still some leaks there that really, in my opinion, need to be fixed. And probably maybe the bigger one, the stone cutter, the company, the fellow that's been doing our stone work is going to retire in January of 2020. There is another company that does it, but Dave told me whenever he's priced 2 pieces of stone, the other one about doubles it up. So he would like to know in the next week or 2 weeks at the outside what you guys want to do. Should he block out time? Should he not block out time to come back here? If not, I mean, he'll just line up other work, and if he is, then he'll block out some time for us. So
This is another hard discussion that we're going to have.
yeah.
You know, what was it last year? We plunged $1 million into this building.
Well, over 3 years.
Over 3 years. 3 years. We came on the project.
And that's why I'm telling you.
It's not going to quit. You know, this building is old. Yeah, it's a great building. I mean, architecturally, it's a great building. My thoughts are, we need to have that discussion from a county level. What do we want to keep doing to this building? Sure. Everything is antiquated. Everything. And that's my thoughts. You know.
That's like I say, that's why I gave you those other 2 items, put in the mix and shake it up, and that's up to you, because like I told Dave, I can't tell you yes and I can't tell you no. I've got to go to the board, and they'll direct me, and then I'll let him know. And like you say, I told him I didn't think I'd have an answer for him today, but I told him a week, 2 at the outside, and then I would let him know. So he kind of knows what to do to keep his guys busy.
You can't afford it now, but you pay twice as much later.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And like I
we
said,
got to decide what to do.
You know, modern buildings are much less maintenance. That is true, but gee whiz, we've already put so much money into it now. And I mean, yeah, you just hate to be the one to be part of having this whole building.
I agree with you.
But yeah, you know, you're right, it's tough. It's tough, but you know, counties that have built new ones don't have to worry about brick and mortar and freezing and thawing and raining. They should have built the new one before they put the addition.
And the sad thing is, since this is on the National Register, we're restricted how we deal with it too.
Yeah, well, because it's a public building, we don't qualify for any of the, like, grants for the historical buildings. We've heard that once. Like,
No, I think it would. I think you just there's even more strict rules the way you do it.
the way I understood it, it was strict enough that it wasn't going to happen. Can't remember where I got that from. But
Or where do we go? We got to get David an answer. So
scheduling is he looking at? So,
You said we have 2 or 3 weeks to decide?
Well, 2.
2? All right.
so the stone cutting is one question. I mean, even if we were gonna push it off a couple of years or something, we need to look at least having the stone cut like we did before, and have it set aside.
Yeah, I would think that would be a good thing to do, because nothing ever gets cheaper, and that certainly isn't gonna happen.
But in that respect, we have to make that hard decision on whether we keep moving forward with this or take another direction.
What's the roof gonna cost? 'Cause
The architect-
if I remember correctly, that's what, 5 years, he said?
Yeah, we're pushing our luck on
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
He said it's gonna be probably a little north of 100,000 by the time it's all said and done. New valleys.
That's less than I thought it was.
It's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
When you compare it to the tuck points.
Yeah. Because we kind of decided we were talking about steel shingles at one time, and we thought, asphalt's gonna be quicker, easier, and seal up for 20. So that's kind of where we went, and taking that into account, that's what Greg told me. But like everything else, you probably had 20% onto it,
Yeah. Cut the stone.
My thought is though, you put $1 million into it, you've done 3/4 of it. Once we get it done, then the maintenance costs to keep it up, if we have them come back every 2 years, is minimal. The reason we're in the shape we're in is because nobody wanted to do any maintenance for years and years and years. So if we get it to where it's done, and then we just have them come back every couple of years and spot check and get done what just needs to be done.
Well, and
Their budget as
the new tuck pointing and stuff in Roxville. But we're not talking we're gonna have to do it every 5
No.
years. It's gonna be 20, 30 years down the road before we're this bad again, I would think.
But if you
Well,
keep the
hopefully we don't
maintenance
get
up,
this
then you
bad.
don't get to that point where you're so
And the
bad.
new mortar that they use, does he use the stuff where they put the,
Epoxy?
either the epoxy, there's a, like silicone type stuff, I think they can put in mortar to help it stay together. And,
I can't tell you, Bill. I can find out.
yeah,
All I know from what he told me, the mortar they have to use now is not the quality it was even 10, 15 years ago. Now, why that is, I don't know.
wow.
But you still have the antiquated heating system, cooling system. And these are just things to think about. I'm not for or against.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I tell you what, why don't,
And ease of, not usable space, too,
you want to mill it around, I'll get on the agenda for next week and we'll talk about it next week.
Well, I can already tell you what my people are gonna say. They say just keep fixing. So.
Well,
I think that's
the
exactly
taxes
what
raised either, so.
I know they don't.
One of the reasons we had to raise taxes, or one of the biggest reasons is this.
So is the correct solution to actually bond for it and get it done? I mean, we hate bonding, but
We're close to a limit.
Actually, we paid off.
yeah, because we paid off, we made that better.
No, I would rather do it just in the general budget.
But then we're gonna need to do a lot of cutting other places.
We'll just have to raise the levy.
I think if you took a vote of the people, you wouldn't get the majority of them to say let it fall down.
Right.
But we
I like to believe that anyway. I mean, I have my history. I love history. And old buildings are history, and they just really look good.
But with some of the flack we've gotten with our raising the levy this year, are they gonna be, receptive to raising the levy with a rounded amount for the next 3 years or whatever it's gonna take, or pay for it over 10 years at a little bit more increase?
The people that will be paying the taxes are the one that taking advantage of the building. it's my opinion that they should pay for it, not push it off onto our children. And, 10 years, I probably won't be around, so, you know. That we can discuss later, I think.
We've got.
If it's gotta be done, let's do it.
Well, I can tell you during that rain, it came in and it came in hard.
Yeah.
So probably we're at the consensus that we wanna
One
fix
way,
the building,
Yeah.
we just gotta figure out
how to pay for
how
it.
We're gonna bond for it or just increase?
the levy and
One way, you bond for it, you pay somebody interest. The other way, you don't have to pay interest, but short term, it looks worse.
errors. And it's gonna be a little bit before the.
You guys got 4 years before you have answers, and I'm done, so.
Well, what I'm looking at is we've got wind turbines going to the county.
Yep, exactly.
That will help,
Exactly.
but not fully for another 5 years or more. So
6 years.
that's where the bonding,
And we gotta remember that the TIF on the windmills is, what is that, 13 left? 13 years? 11?
I can't
I think it was 27. Seems like it was 27 for some reason.
You know, that'll come around pretty quick, so that's.
9 years left probably. But I'm saying on the new wind turbine.
All right, let's take action. I think we should go ahead with ordering that.
Have them block out time.
Yep.
At least that.
Okay.
And
Get the stone cut or whatever before we
Or whatever.
it'd be nice if you can come back to us with a plan of what we're looking at, in what time frame.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to get it going, get the block ordered and cut, and we will figure out how to pay for it later.
Okay. All right.
I'll second it.
Got it?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we can go back to the public health. Anything else you wanted to say? No?
No, she had to leave, so.
But you didn't have anything else on that?
Okay. All right. So we will go to Scott.
Good morning.
Morning.
Today I wanted to run through a summary of our kind of department's one-year accomplishments, and we hand this out to you, updated every year. Becky puts this together as a kind of guide to if you're discussing with fellow supervisors in other counties or the public, kind of what's been going on over the last year. The top of the sheet has our stats as a county, number of miles and employees. Not much of that's changed. You'll see one number that has been updated quite a bit is our number of bridges, and that jumped a bunch because we kind of changed the way that we figured it for you. 55 is the number of bridges that, if you were to stand by them, look like physical bridges, and we inspect them every year or 2 years. It doesn't include large box culverts or other things like that the average person wouldn't look at and say that's a bridge. They'd say that's a culvert. But the definition by the Department of Transportation is anything over 20 feet. So the definition is different than, just if you were to stand there, look at, say, if it's a bridge or a culvert. So anyway, 55, and that number is decreasing all the time as we take old bridges and replace them with culverts. Numbers come off the list, and it'll be, it's been our department's goal and will continue to be to reduce that number so that we're replacing timber bridges that take maintenance that are deteriorating, replace them with concrete structures that have a very, very long lifespan. We talk 75 or 100 years, hopefully. Those things are made in a heated shop somewhere in a controlled environment, and they're expected to last a long time. So, at some point when we get over the hump of replacing deteriorated bridges, hopefully we kind of level out, and our maintenance of those structures is less than now, which is replacing. And as you can see, halfway down to the bottom, we listed out the projects that we did this year, and as you can see, all 6 of them are county forces, 4 of which were bridges replaced with culverts. Our crews have been doing a great job, and
What does county forces mean?
well, it just means it's our own crew that did it.
Okay.
We didn't contract any bridges this year. We did, but they'll be done following year. But it just means that it's our crew, our own equipment, our own staff that are able to accomplish these, which means, you know, that don't have to count for profit, and our guys are very good at it, so they're very efficient, get it done cheaply, and it's a great asset to all the public in our county that our guys are able to do that.
So instead of 3, we can do 6 or something.
Yeah, I don't know what the comparison would be. You know, we got some box culverts to go in next spring, and we'll kind of be able to see how our guys do against theirs. And we had a triple box culvert put in by Leland by contractors last fall, and in my opinion, our guys are quite a bit more effective than that crew was.
It's been my experience with the cost of our county crew doing it to outside contractors doing it, we save about half.
It could be, yeah.
That's been my experience.
Yeah, and it surely depends on how competitive the environment is, but yeah, I mean,
And
saving
the thing
folks
with the
money.
Leland one was we had a short time frame that we almost had to contract that one, right?
The reason we contracted that one is because we have a certain allotment of federal funds. It was federal funds, now swap, but those jobs are required to be contracted. So we chose one that was a little bit unusual and contracted it rather than did it ourselves. We could have done that with our own forces. So, I mean, big credit to Mark and the crew. Maintenance of the roads and everything's a full-time job, much less pulling guys here and there when they're needed off the maintenance crews to do construction projects. It's a lot to get done with, you know, construction crew of 2 or 3 guys, plus pulling guys off maintainers periodically just to help out when needed. So, but big thanks to those guys, and I think it's a big deal and needs to be appreciated. You know, a lot of counties have bridge crews, but I don't think they, you know, have the type of operation that we do and the number of projects we get done.
I know Worth County doesn't do any.
Yeah, you see it vary quite a bit across the state, but there are a lot of counties with bridge crews and a little bit different strategies based on who's running those crews or who the engineers or whatever. So, back up to the wages there, that just summarizes the guy's contract. And they're in year 2 of 2, of course, and that will be, we'll have a new contract here moving forward. And then the last one there is the new equipment that we bought over the last year.
Okay.
Thanks for the information.
Yeah, just a guide for you. Other than that, I don't really have too much for updates. We're continuing working, they backfilled, but continue working on the K19W bridge replacement project. And
Yeah, we got her set and got the water flowing through it anyway.
Yep, so that's the main thing, and we'll continue to work on that and get her opened up here shortly, hopefully. And
So is it froze bad enough now, the dirt, that they can't do much with it, or?
better question for Mark, but you know, anytime you have cold weather and you're fighting frost and freezing dirt, you can't quite finish it near as neatly and the same.
Bumps that don't pack very well.
Yeah, so I know that he tries to use the weather to his advantage, and in any case, it'll take some maintenance in the spring when things thaw out, I'm sure.
God, I'd like to copy that as well, please.
Okay.
Okay, okay. I've got a request from a property owner that has a hog facility. It isn't even a hog, it's about changing a level B road from one road to another. And it's not the road that the building is actually on, it's a road that gets a lot more traffic. Level B gets a lot more traffic than another road that is not a level B that has hardly any traffic on it. He was wondering what if that could be switched.
At face value, it sounds plausible, so give me the miles and we can look at it.
Yeah, I'll stop down.
Okay.
You'll be in your office?
Yeah.
I'll stop down.
Alrighty, you're up.
Okay, Rick Hopper's coming in this afternoon a little bit, and he's gonna get some information on 10 and 11, and he's just about done with that report. So I keep pressing him on that too, like you do, so. As far as I know, that's gonna be happening.
What time?
He wasn't sure, he had a meeting in Hancock County, and then he was gonna come up, so.
So up there in DD 14, Merle Robinson's having problems down on Highway 9 there with his property. It's the Jordan property. It'd be on the south end of DD 14.
Okay.
Right where it touches DD 11. They're supposed to be looking at it. I talked to Gary Helgeson. He met with Merle Robinson, and Gary didn't give any indication he could help him really. Okay. Whether he was going to do anything or not, I don't know.
Okay.
I also have been pressured from the renter of Richard Block's property in the north end of DD 14.
I've already got a couple petitions on DD 14.
Yeah.
I know Gary Kroll was in.
And I drove out there and I looked at that. That is horrible. The amount of water that's still sitting around there in the north end of DD 14.
Okay.
And then and I told Gary this, I said, it just gets better when you get across the fence line. So it looks like it might be an easy fix if it's in that field.
So do we need to just clean it?
But, that's about a half a mile from the ditch that it gets better. But then when I got down to the ditch to the outlet, there's water sitting in the ditch, and the water outlet of the culvert is, now here's the water, here's the outlet, and I've got pictures of it and video of it just swirling right there. And then right past that, it's being blocked, and it's blocked, and it's blocked. Yeah, it needs cleaning.
So the whole thing needs to be cleaned. So do we need to
There's about 2 miles of clean out at least. But
so we need to get an engineer on this.
It's not real deep.
2 miles.
I don't know.
2 miles times, say, 3 to 4. So you're talking 30,000, 30 to 40, something like that.
Does it meet? I know, I agree. So does it meander a lot? Does it need a lot of straightening?
No,
have we had anybody look at it to give us an estimate?
Let me see what.
Yeah, that would be the step.
Yeah, because that's what I've got with DD 49 too, is to just have LaHarve going out to look and just see how much it might cost to not have the engineer.
Yep.
So we can do the same thing.
So we can save some money.
Just to see how much it would cost.
Are we going to, who are we going to get an estimate from then on ditch cleaning?
Did you say Helgeson didn't want to do it?
Well,
let's just bid it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard to get bids when we don't know what.
They can go look at it.
That's okay.
Yeah. If they want to work, they can
What
go.
he brought up, he didn't want another case like it was on the sub 1 of DD1, where there's all these pipes that have to be replaced, and that drives the price up. It should be most of it should be part of the original bid.
Right. But then we know that it's at least $150 for each outlet.
But
and that's
it'd be nice to have a fairly close number
it would be.
of how many outlets there are and what size.
Yeah. Or at least
that's where the engineer helps. It costs us, but at least it's identified. I don't know how you can do it otherwise.
Well, and I'm
Unless you want to
thinking.
wear your boots on.
I'm thinking, Mark.
I don't have a 4-wheeler.
You can have mine.
Dang it.
You can have it for a month.
You're not participating, right? I'm not sure.
No.
So.
Mark can go look at it, can he?
Yeah, but
I mean, that's what he's wanting to do when he retires, right?
Yeah, I can maybe see if LaHarve wants to go out and just look at it like he's doing for 49 and just see if it's just a couple miles.
We don't want to give unfair advantage though to
No, and what I do though is if it's going to be a pretty penny, we will get bids. I just wanted them
that's
to
not fair to LaHarve though to do the work and.
Okay, say it's going to be over 30,000.
Then I want bids.
Yeah, so
I do. No matter who goes out there, I'm going to want a bid.
So maybe we're better off assessing it ourselves through Mark or something
Yep.
and make it fair.
Okay,
Mark knows as much as any engineer, he just doesn't have the degree.
well, I will talk to Mark then on that.
Okay,
Mhm.
that sounds good.
I have to talk to him on something else.
And they can bill Mark's time back to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
anything else,
that right off the top.
guys? All right,
We still,
reclass, DD 49, can appoint engineer.
I would recommend Jacobson Westford.
So what was 49?
That's the one just west of Forest City?
Oh, yeah, by Riley Lewis.
Yes, yes. Yep. Because it is not separated by laterals, main tile, anything. So, but I do not have him to do anything with the cleaning of the ditch or anything like that. He is strictly just to be a reclassification.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the reclassification of DD 49 and appoint Jacobson Westergaard as the engineer to do the reclass.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, seconded by William, to approve the reclassification of DD 49 and appoint Jacobson Westergaard as engineer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Auditors transfers. I forgot to do this at the beginning of the meeting. I congratulate you guys for winning your races. Yeah.
Thank you, I think.
Yeah, not officially yet.
Yeah, we have cameras see it.
But thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's transfers.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to approve the auditor's transfers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for Rice Lake Golf and Country Club.
I'll second it. Are they open year round now? Or?
You know, I don't even know.
Because usually they do it this spring.
Yeah, I don't know. Motion by Mike, seconded by Terry to approve the liquor license for Rice Lake Golf and Country Club. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Tier 9. Open forum.
Ted, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we should continue to support the backfill.
Can I just be honest with you for a while?
Sure,
No, be candid. Don't be honest, be candid.
So that's one of the reasons I left you a message, yeah, and wanted to stop by. And I don't know any other way to do it, but just to be honest with you, and that is I do think that will be phased out. The backfill will be phased out. Now, if I had my way, I would, I'm still where I was last spring, that we would phase it out over a 5-year period at $25 million a year. And so you would continue to get, next year anyway, you would get 5/6 of what you got, because the last 25 million out of the 150 million, we would retain, and through some process, which I can't exactly define for you at this time, I've looked at a lot of papers on this, okay, and that would be retained, and the backfill would continue for people, county, cities that have not had an increase of some kind in their personal property taxes, commercial property taxes, and so on. So there'd be 6 $25 million increments. 5 of them would be to not continue the backfill. The last one would be to revise it and go to different places as far as the cities and towns are concerned. Another thing that was in that whole proposal last spring was that the windmills any new windmills will not get the reduction in property taxes from the 2013 bill. And we're going to try again. I think I've got people on my side on this, but we're not going to give any more to the windmills that are already there that are getting that additional. Man, 30%, that's pretty good in my opinion. That farmers and homeowners pay about on 50% of their valuation as far as their taxes are concerned. They're down to 30%, and then we gave them another 10%. And I'd have to go down and talk to Sue again to understand exactly how she figures that, because I still don't understand it. But at any rate, we're going to take that away, too, if I have anything to do about it. And Linda Upmeyer knows where I'm at on that whole thing. We had quite a discussion about it last spring.
Do you think that will have a negative effect on future windmills?
Well, you know, in my opinion, they're already, it starts at zero, right? They don't pay any property taxes, and it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30%.
Anybody else in commercial property pays at 90%.
Right. And on your home, you pay 50%. And on cropland out there, you pay 50%. They're getting a good deal.
What are other states doing?
That I can't answer.
Minnesota has a different system, and we discussed that at our Woodward
I'll check
with the company that was coming into Wood County. It's more of a production based. They pay about the same up there as they do down here, so it's competitive that way. It's formulated in a different way. So if they have a bad year where they have a bunch of equipment go down, which happens once in a while, they may not pay as many taxes. So that's a little harder for us to justify paying back our debt on something that's kind of variable. So I don't know if I want to go to that. I kind of like this 30%. We're guaranteed so much money each year.
What would be wrong with 50%?
Yeah, it should be more.
But
if they can't make it on their,
if they can't stand on their own, then why do we need to subsidize them?
That's the way I see it too. If they can't stand on their own 2 feet by now, then it's not.
Well,
I think it's getting closer as they get federal subsidies in the county, you know, the state.
Well, I think the people that really make the money are the people who develop the projects. The people, the landowners, aren't the ones that make the big money. Because all the tax breaks are up front.
The wind turbines that are already in the county now, the southwest part of the county is going to get retooled this year. They've got a permit to put new equipment on them, so they're going to be upgrading. But it's not going to raise the value of the wind turbines.
That's in the legislation that just stays the same as what they're.
But you know, at first I was a little upset by that. Then I started thinking about it. Well, if they're retooling them, that means they're going to last another 20 to 30 years, and we'll have.
Are they going to retool them so they produce more energy?
Yeah.
So they're going to get more out of them and pay less taxes as a percentage. So, I mean, I was surprised to find out that we didn't tax the energy that's produced by it. That's the way it, in a sense, should be done. So if they put up a bigger one.
Some of them are being improved to make them more efficient. Not so much. I think some of them are going to be the same output but more efficient and quieter.
Maybe that's another thing you could talk about, is that they upgrade their machines, that they should be taxed at a higher rate.
If it was replacing with the same size equipment, it's one thing, but if they're improving the output, it should be another category. But then you have to figure out what's the value of that. You got your initial 30% of
None of us sound like Republicans, do we?
Well, I just thought I'd come and tell you that last spring when this come up, I don't know if you know all those guys down there that work on that different stuff, you know, I stood up and said, hey, this is not going to go good. And that's when I started calling. I don't know who all I called anymore. And this isn't the only county, of course. Forest City, not the only city either involved in all this. I had one good discussion with a councilman from Cassuth County and the city administrators in Esterville and so on and so forth. And last year, it was too big a surprise all at once. But to stall that off another year, I just don't think that the support would be there to do that. So I think you've got to be forewarned that, and you got to be thinking about it. And I'll do on this windmill thing. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't realize that we're doing that. But make sure that the people down there that are in the appropriations department and the Ways and Means will know all this, and we'll see where we can go from there.
So the other thing that when you're looking at that though, we raised our taxes last year, but
I noticed that.
It's not like we had a big valuation raise or something. We had to raise our levies in order to pay for stuff. So if they just use that calculation that we raise our taxes, it's not really a fair.
No, it's not. I agree. And that's what they were going by. I forget the numbers. You guys had 144% increase in your property taxes that you were receiving. But it wasn't because of more value and so on. It's because you raised the rate. I noticed that. And I saw that. And I spoke up about that. Look, that isn't where they're getting their money. It's because the taxpayers are paying for it.
Income taxes to property taxes. They're going to make us do it on the property tax end of it.
So I guess, when we're looking at that, just keep that in mind, because I don't want us to be penalized because we had to raise our levy rate because we didn't have an increase in value. So
no, and it's all there.
Yeah,
I got a stack of papers about that. Thick, trying to figure all that out. So you will be kept in mind, as will Cassuth and Emmett County, and they're starting. Are they going to put some windmills up in Cassuth County, you think?
I think they had their meeting last Tuesday or something.
Yeah, but the people that wanted more windmills they don't have any windmills right now.
Cassuth?
Yeah. Do they have some?
Yeah.
Well, they don't have any.
I'm trying to think where well, they do have some by the ethanol plant. Yeah, but the ethanol plant owns them themselves.
Yeah. I don't think there is. And
other than that, I can't remember seeing any. But
the people against the windmills are the ones that won the election over there this year in Cassuth County, the way it appears to me. Don McGregor was a big proponent of the windmills, and he lost. The young fellow that beat him was against the windmill. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But anyway, I want to tell you that I don't think it's going to stay the same, Carla.
Well, and like last year, if you have questions, call me, because between me and Sue, we want to help you out any way we can.
Sure. And I will do the same, but
I'm fine with that as long as when they say that they cut taxes at the state level, that they're all say, but by the way, these people are going to have to raise their property taxes to cover the difference. As long as when they have their commercials, they put that stipulation in it, I'll be fine with it.
Really small, but
yeah.
Well, we could get into quite a discussion about that, Bill, as far as that whole ball of wax, okay?
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
That's simple.
If you guys down there would let us do home rule.
Well,
if we could control our own destiny, that would go a long, long way, in my opinion.
In a sense, I like it because, the money isn't going there and then back to us. We're taking care of ourselves, which I'm a big believer in everybody taking care of themselves.
I asked Merle Bartz in this, what's your opinion of home rule? He just went on to the next question.
No, I'm for you. We were, boy, I tell you what, we've talked about it, and not so much at the county supervisor level, but at the school board level, the K through 12 school boards. And so this has been talked about. Stuff like that don't go real fast, but I'm sure it'll come up again. But there are, what is there now, 14 different members of the House, even though we retained a majority, there's 14 different members in that majority. I think that's what's coming up in my head, so we'll have to see what some of the new people are thinking.
As far as the property tax, the tax system, the way the schools are funded, it's a recipe. It's designed to close small schools as far as I'm concerned.
Well, no.
You still got to provide all the same things and all that, and you only get your money back for students, so therefore you can't do it.
So how do you do it? What are you going to do?
Home rule. Let each school district take care of itself.
Every school board can take care of their own school.
So then they would be able to raise property taxes any way they wanted to.
They dictate the curriculum. Who better to do it than
that's fine.
Our own districts?
I understand it,
Man.
and that's the way it's got to be. Like a lot of schools here have a reduction in students. I understand that they get less money, but the state can't just keep pouring more money into that. You're going to spend $11,000 a year to educate a kid here and only $10,000 over there.
Let's fund their arts education.
If our school district wants to provide a poor education, we won't give them any money. If we want to provide a high education, we'll give them money.
It really is.
But on the other hand, 1971 is when they equalized state aid. They don't want those kids in southern Iowa to have a poor education because they have poor farmland and whatever else, okay, hilly ground. And so that's why they equalized it in 1971. So how are you going to go strictly to home rule and keep that equalized?
We're at a disadvantage. We only have 12 townships where every other county has 16.
Yeah.
So we're at a disadvantage.
Emmett is the same way.
Yeah.
Kasuth, of course, is different. It's supposed to be 2 counties.
So,
but you understand what I'm saying? They wanted to equalize it. In 1971, they wanted to
equalize. Want to educate their kids, they'll raise their levies.
Pardon?
If those people down there want to educate their kids, they'll raise their levies.
They can't afford it.
Does that not tell you something?
And we can afford to do it for them?
Well, you're not really doing it for them, Bill. You're
giving them the money to do it.
Kind of like the CSS program.
We're the rich. We're taking from the rich to give them the poor.
You heard this before.
Yes.
The state,
we talked about this before.
The state gives, that, so it's $5.40. Everybody pays the $5.40 on that scale, the education scale, and then you got all the money in between there, and then at the end of it again, you got that, I don't know where it is exactly right now, it was 12.5%, right? But we've taken some of that down to something less than that. And so that's where it gets uneven again then, because the people down there pay less in that respect, and so they get more out of the state aid portion of it, which is in the middle part of that formula.
Let me ask you this. Garner has a great benefactor. I don't know the guy's name.
Yeah.
Go to college for nothing. So let the free market dictate everything. Do I want to move to Garner? No, I'll pay my kids college.
Nothing personal against Garner. He just
no, it's not. Yeah. I like my hometown.
Yeah. The casino in Worth County is the other side of it.
Same thing. Yeah. Is it fair? Who knows? But that's life.
But at least when Winnebago County people go there and lose money, it's at their own free will. It wasn't done by somebody jabbing them with a higher tax rate or something like that.
Anyway,
that's what I was wanting to tell you about.
Yep.
And so you can, if you have any good ideas about the whole thing there, like we've talked about some here, let me know.
Home rule.
And I'll
Home rule.
Hey, Mike, I have it written down.
Yeah, we may be contacting you about mental health too.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in process right now.
That'd be fine.
That's another mandate used by the state that put us in a really precarious situation.
You'll never be forced to do business with someone you don't believe in.
That mental health thing is a sticky wicket. You're pointing your finger at me.
I also want just to remind you that when Governor Branstad put that 10% tax cut in on industrial commercial, he promised us that backfill. Just want to remind you, Ted.
And all the larger communities are the ones by far that benefit from that. Because that's where all investment is made. So the smaller communities just get to pay. It's taxation without representation in a sense. It's and it goes in a lot of different directions.
Here again, Bill, if it was home rule, we'd be sitting pretty.
Everybody should take care of themselves.
We'd be sitting pretty. We would be. Your county would be sitting pretty. If
Then you're sending it down to Adams County. Huh?
What's that?
Is that what you're saying? You're sending it down to Ringgold County or
No.
whatever.
No,
No, you're not?
no. Well, we're taking care of our own,
Yeah.
and we do a good job of it.
And if you don't like the way one county does it, move to the next.
You're talking about the education dollars.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if you should change any as far as counties are concerned. I don't. Okay,
All right,
that's enough.
you're a good man, Ken.
Well,
You're a
thank
good
you.
man.
See ya.
Thank you for
Thanks,
coming.
Ted.
And don't put all that in the paper.
Of course not. Never.
I
will never put it in the paper.
I knew he was in trouble.
That's a little lie there, because you go on web, and that kind of is the same thing.
Oh, no, that's electronic. That's different.
It's not technically paper.
You don't saw a tree down to put something on it, okay? Thanks.
I know about it. Just give me that.
You got it.
See ya.
You use oil.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, use oil.
Okay. Canvas.
Alrighty then.
I don't know why we do this.
Oh, I think it's fascinating sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun to see who got rid of it.
Well, now wait a second here. Shouldn't two people abstain themselves from this? Because shouldn't two people abstain themselves from this because they're reviewing the?
So you can start,
Oh,
they're saying,
oh. Yeah, there ain't nothing we can really.
Well, you got that Florida Attorney General all up in arms now. I mean, guys, you got to think about this.
We've got to take a few pointers from that woman. She knows how to break the law and not get punished for it.
and the person before her was just as bad or worse.
I'm just saying, guys. That's all. I'm just saying. Might want to call our road construction or road guy and tell him he left his thermostat.
He'll be back next week.
Is that Scott's?
Yeah, Scott.
Oh,
You can tell by the 3
I
gallon
can take it
tank.
down there. I'm gonna go down there again.
He stays out here till we.
I know. It does. It's always somewhere.
Leave it in my office.
Does he have a tracking device to it or what?
He needs to.
That's what I should.
Hey, Florida, see how easy this is?
You know, even the places that got devastated by hurricanes could get it done in 10 minutes. But not that, well, and, you know, it's on purpose. I mean, it's not like they can't get it done on time. That's completely and totally on purpose.
They're just gonna have to justify all the long distance phone calls to
Well,
Charlotte
what's
to
the name?
figure out how it's done.
What was it? Somebody found a whole bunch of box of ballots in a rental car somewhere or something. And it's just,
Elementary school.
is that where it was?
Yep.
In an elementary school? How the heck does that happen? Somebody didn't do their job, or they magically appeared.
Well, I saw that guy
Oh,
this
you
morning.
all get to sign this.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, all right.
There was a guy this morning that back in the 2000 election, he used UPS to send his ballot in, and so he had tracking on it, and it was kicked out because it was stamped like on the 16th or something of November that it received, but he had tracking to show it got there on a certain date. But they put it off and put it off and put it off until I think 18 months they put off this decision until it was too late. They couldn't do anything about it.
All I gotta say is, Ms. Snipes, this is very simple and correct.
You're evidently much more talented.
What's that?
Our auditor evidently is much more talented with the sheet collection.
That's why Florida keeps calling her all
Do
the
we have that
time.
much of a different computer system than they do, or?
I would assume so.
Theirs works off Cobalt Basic, and hers works off the modern system.
Do they have, where you fill
He
in the,
gets it.
do you, does Florida have it where they fill in the system and then throw it into the computer? Do you know?
I'd have to call.
You're talking about Florida?
Yeah.
I'd have to call a couple of my friends down.
You'd have to be awful stupid not to have a simple ballot like that. I think the way Iowa does it is just very simple. Right?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to go home at 1 o'clock in the morning instead of 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning after, waiting for your office to do your job, and I'll drive by at midnight, the lights are still on in here. I would drive by, say, down in Navajo County, lights are still on at 7 o'clock in the morning down in the courthouse. So,
Wouldn't want that headache.
But when you're up to no good, you're more than willing to stay.
That's exactly what
That
it's
state
meant
must
to
have the
be.
worst of luck, because it seems like every big election, they have troubles with something.
It's not luck, it's all by design.
Well, they need to stop electing that one chick then.
Yeah, they shouldn't have an electable elections supervisor.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's been convicted in the past. It's just like, well, but the people that are voting for it, and that's why you shouldn't have it, it should be appointed. The people that are voting for it are more than happy with the direction that they're taking.
For trying to reach the order.
well, you got a choice. You get appointed by a party that may be corruptible, or you get appointed by the people who know you're corruptible.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and honest people, it's tough for honest people to battle against someone who's willing to lie and cheat and steal to the end.
you know who she looks like? Jesse Jackson, doesn't she?
You know, he's been quiet.
A woman, Jesse Jackson.
Where's he been?
I don't know. Him and, who's the other?
Al Sharp. Al not so sharp too?
Oops. Racist.
Mike, just a thought.
What's that?
Just a thought.
I don't care.
Okay.
You've never known me to care about that.
I'm just saying. Having
don't
gone
care.
through the ringer, you know, I'm just saying. And gone through the ringer unjustifiably, but still.
There's quite a few people you can have that same comment about that are of different ethnicities.
I'm just saying.
I have many black friends that'll stick up for me. So
I would say the same thing.
I have a lot of Latino friends, and Native Americans will stick up the same way.
Okay, well, that's the
I was
first
gonna say,
part.
that must be part of it.
Okay.
You can just keep that with that.
And I would say the same thing if he
That's
was my
not
brother.
No, I put it right back.
Yep.
I would say the same thing if he was my brother. It doesn't matter what he is or who he is or, I mean, if that's, you know, because it doesn't matter.
You should hear the conversations I have with my best friend.
I did have you.
I bless him
Yeah, I noticed that too.
probably more than
You want me to
anybody
reprint them?
else. You know, we just have good conversations.
Right in
Is it
for
easy
Wild
to
Bill,
reprint
supervisor.
Really?
Yeah, one's Wild Bill here.
I had you wrong. I didn't look, I should have looked at it before I told you to sign the wrong spot.
That's that again?
We're just gonna throw it away. Start over.
Oh, you scumbag.
Got 20 more reprints coming.
That's the end of this file, so when this gets down here, it goes over here.
I just didn't want Bill and Terry's opposition to, you know, throw hissy fits that you guys were verifying.
There was no opposition.
I'm just saying.
I had 24 write-ins in my race.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Well, I haven't got that far yet.
I think I had more.
Bill actually did have more than
I
Terry.
had 33 or
Yeah,
something.
you were up to 33.
that's a good
One
percent.
of them in Terry's house was Wild Bill. I don't know if they wanted me to cover two.
So this, okay, here we go. County Supervisor.
You gotta sign those.
Here's the ones for bills. That's in one.
Mike Tweed. Good grief.
Yeah, let me see that.
Signature on any of these.
other side, both sides of these?
Are you done with these?
Yes, I'm looking forward.
Yeah, there's two-sided on some of them. Keeps you awake.
Yeah, I still don't understand canvassing the votes. 'Cause what are we compared to?
I think the check for you to make sure that Carla wasn't off her rocker or something.
Okay, so, me and your Fox got one vote. Where am I gonna check where he voted?
In the front of the books, there's a machine tape, and that's where you can check.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that he voted at that precinct, because you could write in somebody that's not even from this county.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the president of Walmart received the vote, county treasurer.
I'm just saying, we gotta
Tell
trust
Dr. Bob Alsop he got a vote, he was voting
Yeah.
for it.
And people don't understand how much work write-ins is, especially when they write in dumb things like Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Can you just take it a little bit more serious?
One of them I read was Wild Bill.
Yeah, seriously.
It's
Keith Richards from, yeah.
First, the
Rolling Stones.
the precinct workers have to write in all those tallies.
Yeah.
And then we have to enter them into our iVoters, or,
iVoters, yeah. And election night
computer
reporting,
system. So we
yeah.
have two different systems we have to enter them into.
How many votes were cast?
40-some hundred.
Yeah, it was like 60-some%, which is the best
Really?
turnout we've had, yeah. It was crazy.
It's
For a midterm, yeah, yeah.
So there's no rule that the county or state can make that says that person has to reside within that county or jurisdiction?
I mean, they can't win.
Yeah, they can win, but
Are you
they have to move there.
I was
by-
gonna
they have
say,
to move there by
right.
the time they take office.
Which
So we,
If
never
you
Daffy
were-
Duck would have to move to
Yeah.
If
Winnebago
you were from
County.
Missouri, you could run for supervisor for Winnebago County, and you could win, but you gotta move here before you take the oath.
So if somebody hold two elected offices,
For what do you mean?
Donald Trump was written in.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see
saw
that. Not Donald, it was Don Trump.
Don
Donald
Trump.
Trump.
Yeah.
Peach Tea Dog.
Peach Tea Dog, yep, he got more than one vote.
Oh, there's another one, yeah.
I mean, somebody was in cahoots on that.
Oh, and also for county attorney.
Uh-huh. I'm guessing somebody
Oh,
just
like-
wrote him in the whole.
Just every write-in,
Mhm.
one against me, and yeah.
One America.
Yep.
US poll.
That's probably why sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. Yes. It was a
This
long,
year, we're walking out 11:15, so that's not
yeah,
bad.
which was really good, yeah.
I know, because I saw you, I had to drive home, I saw you guys walking up, and then driving back, I saw, okay, results are, because we got word first.
Mm.
They were lightning fast, they were done in 10:50, 10:45,
Oh, wow.
somewhere in that neighborhood. So I got the notification results are coming in, so I drove in. And I saw you guys walking out, I'm like, okay, Winnebago's done. Took off up there, and Carl was already up there, and Mark was making his way. And sure enough.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth this time.
Do you think John Huggison would make a good county attorney?
Wrote him in.
His verdict. Secretary of Agriculture. Well, he's retired now, I suppose he has to
He could do it, yeah.
I shouldn't be doing that. Like,
Where's
I
the,
feed.
where's the one that was it? Right here.
Did you put it back here? That's Forrest.
I haven't, I've just.
I think the blue ones is what he was looking for. The first blue one you were looking at? I think it's the bottom one. Oh, here's one too. Jason worked out a few. Well, actually more than that.
Julian told her that she had to.
Over.
do the oath for them too, for 15 days. Okay, well, all of them, I guess, all 4 of them. 5 of them. Mr. Derby,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Our financial system, where they're gonna quit supporting the one we have now. Wants to purchase a new system. And you guys don't have to be here, but I also, yeah, I just wanted to have it on the agenda in case you wanted to be here. Yep.
One of the write-ins is Democrats.
Yeah, and then there's a Democratic Party. So yeah.
Right now, they're still supporting it, but it probably won't. They're down to like 1% supporting the system that we're on. Us and Hancock County and like 3 or 4 other counties that still have the old system, so.
Who's Mary Law?
She lives out of town. She does the
Garden stuff.
Yeah, she sells garden. Farm. She'll run it for you. She's done a lot of extension council.
Enough. Oh, now I got even more fun to do. This is just my wake-up call. Well, not really. Morning meeting is the wake-up call. And then there's this. Gotta go down to the puppy mill and see if they got everybody out of there.
That's a lot of science.
Should have seen it. That was really something. We're still trying to get the MP4 video we shot onto the website. When you see the dog, they go, oh,
Yeah, poor things.
That's just a nice thing.
Some signatures. I don't think so. I didn't see one.
No, there isn't in there.
Alright, so that's it for me.
Oh, you need to sign those.
Oh, these. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, they're good.
Also, have a fair ticket for Ludafisk at Emmons.
No, I'm out for that.
I am too, because my guess is, oh man, that was good. Horrible yesterday. I don't think I can.
Stomach it?
No, I love Ludafisk.
Really?
But I think they really have to do it to me.
We made less on Saturday at our place.
Oh, Carla, those are front and back, so make sure. The ones that you've already got back.
What's that?
Those ones are front and back, so I just wanted to
No,
remind
you haven't been back yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't do it. Go ahead.
You can
Finish off. Okay.
just follow me. We never get anything out over here. Something to throw.
attorney for the county attorney position.
Mhm. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous.
Did you get to count as 2 votes then?
No.
No.
Bad either.
Susan Florida bill.
Chicago, Illinois.
That is no bueno.
My motto is vote early and vote often and bring out the dead. Payroll bill. Oh, we got stamping to do. Sorry.
Want to keep these here then?
No, I'm done.
You give up.
Yeah, I think I'll look through them all.
They've got 2 shows if you want it. That liquor license there.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Kind of done my
So we need a motion on the canvas.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the canvas of the 2018 general election.
Second. Motion carries and a bill to approve the canvassing for the 2018 election. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
You miss so much.
Well,
So you miss so much.
well, I will because I'm an arguer. You know I am.
You just have to find somebody else to argue with.
I'm definitely done in 2 years.
I'm not
Stand
an
for
arguer,
yourself.
but sometimes you make me rise to the occasion, so.
Oh, I know I do. Yeah. Yeah, you know. I can honestly say I've never taken anything personal.
I'm just very passionate about it.
Yeah, exactly, you do. Yeah.
know I've asked you this before, but why are they, oh, forget it. Yes.
Carla,
Yep.
Yes, sir.
is there anything I can still do at this point? Because we're out of acid-free paper.
Give me just a couple minutes,
Sure.
okay? I'm gonna think about that.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, Roger.
Roger? That's an interesting name for an Asian. Oops, sorry, my politically correct friends.
Yeah, even if it's the truth, you can't say it.
What's Denny's here? Is he in Forest City or outside?
He lives in Forest City. Well, he has to, he's on the council.
Oh, that Denny's there, okay.
Yep.
I didn't connect the last name to it. Is he the laundry business?
Huh?
Is that Denny's laundry?
No.
That's different Denny.
Yeah, the new supervisor in Cassuth County, I bet he is 22,
Oh, yeah.
one that beat what he was talking about. He's his girlfriend just graduated last spring with my daughter Rebecca.
Really?
I think he might be 21, maybe 22.
What do you do besides
Arms. He's
my
got
head?
it.
Oh, and that's the guy that beat Merle at our photo.
That shocked me.
I know Merlin was worried about it.
Was he?
Yeah. There's a lot of negative.
Yeah,
Well, and some of it's over that property and conflict of interest.
I guess.
There was outside influence from the county.
Really?
Oh, there, eh?
If you look up the records on the fundraising committee for his opponent, the guy from the was the chair of that.
Was there, right? It was nice having him. He's got more of an in with what
Well, Beth,
state stuff does.
he said in the meeting that, he was there temporarily, and Beth said, oh, we'll find something for you tomorrow. That's why
For what?
see that.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
What happened yesterday? Anything?
We had a good interview.
He was a very personable fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoyed our visit.
Single father of 6.
Single? Wife died?
His wife decided she didn't want to be a mother.
God, you're kidding me. Wow.
So you gotta appreciate
Anybody, well, even when you got a wife there, anybody that's willing to take on a large family like that's got some character issues that you gotta admire.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, I think, on the, public health open forums this winter. Just to see what,
Who shows up?
who shows up and what kind of involvement we have.
Whether they want us to bite the bullet, take care of it, or
Well, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I mean, that's my opinion.
Well, I think
If my parents were still alive, I built on their lives, so
they did wonders for my mom and dad.
they're doing wonders for my dad.
But on the same token, we are gonna have to have a frank discussion on objectiveness. Of who, because I can tell you right now, we have, public health has 2 people in Lake Mills that I don't think should have services at all. But anyway.
But, I guess the question is, are you gonna go under VA care?
No, they're not.
That helps our recovery.
Just expects them to get water.
Yeah, that's the trouble. People that are willing to take advantage.
Motion?
So,
Yep, second.
Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the, payroll. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
yep. That was it.
Did you say adjourned? Or not yet?
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
So unfortunately,